we wake, hear the birds and see the sun. Side by side our fears are done. Oh, the good times just begun.
Welcome back to another video, guys. We are so excited to get this year started on the right foot. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about our 5 favorite national parks from last year and why. So let's start with number 5 on our list, which is Great Sand Dunes in Colorado. So the national park itself is located in a pretty remote area, just 30 miles outside of the town of Alamosa. The reason this park is so appealing is because it has the tallest sand dunes in North America. If you opt to camp, there's campgrounds inside the park, but they're very limited and usually pretty crowded when you would want to visit. So we made the decision to stay a little bit outside the park at a campground called San Luis State Park. So from that campsite, you can actually see the dunes rather than being inside the park. We were able to experience an amazing sunset, some killer star and astrophotography, and we also met up with a good photographer who helped shoot some incredible sunset photos that you can see right here. If you're going to the park with kids or even adults that just want to have a good time, sandboarding should be at the top of your list. It is the most fun activity to do in the dunes other than hiking, and you can rent a sandboard from the visitor center for about 20 bucks as you come into the park. You really don't need more than a day or two in the park, but it is well worth it if you're driving through Colorado. Moving on to number 4 is Big Bend National Park in Southwest Texas. This park is probably one of the most underrated national parks in the US. It is so remote and so far to the south of Texas that you almost don't even realize it's there unless you're deliberately driving to the park. Big Bend National Park sits right on the border of the Rio Grande, which not only splits the park, but it also splits the Mexico and Texas border. So if you are planning on traveling to Big Bend National Park, we highly recommend you bring a passport. Because of the diversity and the large range of elevation throughout the park, it is a birder's paradise and just an outdoorsman's dream. So we highly encourage you to bring some binoculars for wildlife sightseeing. You cannot see everything that you want to see in this park in a day or two just because it takes half a day to drive into the park. So what we opted to do is spaced out our trip into 3 to 4 days and stayed at different campgrounds along the way. Those campgrounds are Chisos Basin Campground, Cottonwood Campground, and the Rio Grande Village Campground. Big Bend also has one of the darkest night skies because of how remote it is. So for astrophotography and just stargazing in general, it is an incredible place. So if you're looking to get away, if you're looking to go real remote, then Big Bend National Park is your place. Number 3 on our list for this summer is Grand Teton National Park in Wyoming. The first time we were ever there was on our honeymoon, and that's really what got us into the van life in the first place. So this place specifically has a special place in our heart. It is an amazing, amazing national park. The amount of activities that you can take part in when you're in the Tetons is unbelievable. Grand Teton National Park is located in the southern part of Yellowstone. So if you do hit Yellowstone, it's only about an hour drive south to hit the Tetons. It's also north of the famous town of Jackson, one of the true remaining old Western towns that just fits right in the Tetons. There's something in the air, there's something in the environment and the open landscape of Wyoming that just, it feels right, it feels inspiring, and it's the reason why we go back there so often, and it's one of our favorite places to be. There are lookouts like Swashbuckler, I never know how to say that right, Schwabacher Landing, Snake River Overlook, Mormon Row, I mean, you name it. There are overlooks galore in the Tetons, and it's a photographer's paradise to start. In addition to that, it's also a hiker's paradise. Just a gorgeous morning here on the Delta Lake Trail. Unfortunately, we didn't get here early enough, so it looks like the light's already on the peaks, but such is life. How lucky are we to be out here right now? Gorgeous. So this time around and this summer, we really tried to get out as much as we could and hike some of the off the beaten path trails. Delta Lake being one of those hikes, which puts you at the base of Grand Teton in the mountain range, and it is just a beautiful alpine lake. It's not for everybody. It takes a little while to get up there, but the views are stunning, and the reward is totally worth it. Because Yellowstone is only an hour away and you're only 30 minutes from the town of Jackson, the park is centrally located for a lot of travelers and people who want to be outside. So if you are going to be doing some hiking and biking, we highly encourage that you get to those trails early or stay later in the park to kind of avoid the crowds. And there's bike trails around where you can see the entire mountain range from your bike, and it's an amazing way to experience the park. But overall, there is not a bad time of year to visit the park. We visited in the summer, we've been there in the fall. I'm sure if you go in the winter, it's beautiful as well. So it's a photographer's paradise, it's an outdoor enthusiast paradise. It's great for families and kids. It's third on our list, but it really should be number one. Regardless, Grand Teton National Park should be on everybody's bucket list. Okay, coming in at number 2 is Acadia National Park in Maine. For those that know us well, you know how special this park is. We actually got engaged here, and it's a place that Anna and her family have been visiting for most of her life. It is a beautiful place. If you've never been to Maine, stop what you're doing right now, turn this video off, and get in your car and go. But seriously, if you haven't been, it should be on the top of your list. And here are the reasons why. Although Acadia is the 5th smallest national park, it's routinely in the top 10 for the most widely visited parks in the country. The park sits on the Atlantic coast of Maine, right outside of Bar Harbor and an hour from Bangor, which is the closest airport if you were gonna fly. Acadia is special in the fact that it sits along the Atlantic coast, and it is made up of various parts of the park all along the water. Most of the park lands and acres are on Mount Desert Island, Isle of Howe, and the Scoodic Peninsula. There's campgrounds throughout the entire island, but what you'll find is everything in the park is really centered around the ocean. The lobster, the fishing, the boating, the water itself, and just the smell of the breeze is nostalgic, and it's just intoxicating for anyone that visits the park. Some of the things that we like to do while we're visiting the park is ride the carriage roads, which are old carriage paths that have now turned into bike paths. I think there's 45 to 50 carriage roads. If you're a bike enthusiast, if you enjoy walking and getting out, it's a really great way to see the park. We also recommend driving the loop road for those who prefer to just, stay in the car and see the park that way. And if you are going to do that, we highly recommend you get there early, as the park does get pretty crowded by around 8 or 9 o'clock, especially with Cadillac Mountain being the first place that you can see the sunrise on the East Coast. It's pretty magical. And whether you enjoy seafood or not, if you're visiting Maine, you have to try some local lobster. And our recommendation is Thurston's Lobster Trap. Right on the water, the lobster's fresh, right from the Atlantic Ocean, and it's just an amazing place to have a drink, chow down on some lobster, and take in the sights. Acadia National Park is a must visit for anyone, whether you enjoy the park itself or you'd rather do some shopping in Bar Harbor and check out some restaurants, eat some local lobster. It's a great place for everybody, and there's a reason why it's on our top 5. And moving into number 1, Glacier National Park in Montana. Glacier was the first stop for us on our 2-month summer trip, and it was by far the most memorable.
Welcome to Glacier National Park. Look at this place.
The park itself is split up onto an east side and a west side, and it actually borders the Canadian border. A good amount of the park is into Canada, and the other being northern Montana. Unfortunately, with COVID this year, the Canadian border was closed and the west side of the park was closed, so all we were able to explore was the east side. If you only have one day in Glacier National Park, which I hope you have more than one day, our recommendation is to get in the car and drive the Going to the Sun road. It is unbelievable. The road itself covers about 50 miles of just gorgeous landscape from the bottom of the park all the way to the west side. It is a little bit hairy, so if you have someone that is willing to drive that doesn't really get afraid of heights, I'd recommend that. It's truly stunning and should be the one thing that you do in this park if you don't do anything else. The park itself has 26 active glaciers and over 700 miles of hiking trails, which is insane. Luckily for us, we were there for almost a week, so we were able to do some incredible hiking with views overlooking the Grinnell Lake Overlook, which was definitely the highlight of our entire trip. For us, the thing that stood out the most was the people that we met while we were there and our camping experience. It was one of the highlights of our trip, and we were able to actually extend our stay just because we enjoyed camping so much. We found an amazing spot right along the river, met an incredible group of people, and van lifers and people sleeping in their trucks, and it became a family of like-minded individuals. It was something that stood out to us as the reason we travel and the reason we do what we do. We left that trip with a new perspective on what it is that we're trying to do and accomplish in our life, and what it is that we're trying to do on this channel. Trust your gut and say yes to the unknown. And by saying yes to the unknown on a trip like this, we were able to see some of the most magical places that this country has to offer. We met travelers who have been on the road for 19 years with stories of others that they've met and the ways that they've made this a living, and have shared insights with us that we will value and cherish for the rest of our lives. So that's it, guys. We hope you enjoyed this video. We hope that it inspires you to take that extra leap, to get out there and explore, to meet people you normally wouldn't meet, and to learn from others, and to really make your own memories, because this channel is all about sharing with you our experiences and hoping that you'll do the same one day. Get out there and explore, get this year started right, and we'll see you on the road.